Amazing day everyone, I'm Timolon Lianza, a DM student, and I am here to present OSH-Fire Safety. The contents of my presentation are the following. First, I will be presenting the DOLE Occupational Safety and Health Standards under Rule 1940, the Fire Protection and Control. Then I will be discussing what is a fire safety plan, what should be included in the fire safety plan, and examples of fire protection measures. Under the Rule 1940 of the OSH standards, fire protection and control, the topics that will be discussed are the following: general provisions, definitions, building construction and facilities, firefighting facilities, flammable and combustible liquids, combustible solids, electrical installation, and alarm systems and fire drills. Rule 1941, General Provisions. All buildings for occupancy use shall be located in areas provided for by applicable zoning regulations of the locality. In the National Building Code of the Philippines, we will find the provisions on fire zones. It is the LGU who determines the areas to be classified as non-fire restricted zones. These are areas where siting of buildings or structures are permitted without fire resistivity measures, often located in the countrysides or rural areas where commercial and industrial buildings are sparsely constructed. Specific standards in design and construction, occupancy and use of buildings and facilities shall be those prescribed by the Building Code of the Philippines. Fire test of building materials and fire protection equipment used in any place of employment shall be those provided for the Fire Code of the Philippines. The standards for the design and installation of indoor, outdoor general storage, sprinkler system, and fire protection system shall be those provided for by Chapter 9 of the Philippine Society of Mechanical Engineers or PSME Code. The definitions used in these standards are those that are stated in Rule 1942. Fire rating: the time duration that the material shall withstand a standard fire exposure test. Next, flash point: the minimum temperature in degrees at which material will give off flammable vapor. Then we have wood frame construction, a construction in which wooden framework forms the structural support for enclosure walls, floors, and doors. Slow burning construction, construction consisting of substantial masonry walls and heavy timber interior. Fire-resistant construction, construction in which all walls, partitions, floors, stairs, roofs, window frames, and sashes, doors, and other interior finish consist of fire-resistant materials designed to withstand without collapse during burning of the contents of the building for a specified time. Under Rule 1943, Building Construction and Facilities, the following topics are then discussed: types of building construction, segregation, exits, stairways, fire doors, installation of facilities, storage. 194 Building Construction and Facilities, types of building construction. The height of buildings used as places of employment shall be as provided in Table 45A. We have here the table 45A, the type of construction, either wood frame, slow burning, or fire resistant. For occupancy hazards, if it is low, the minimum would be 3 stories for wood frame, 7 stories for slow burning, and no limit for fire resistant. Those under moderate occupancy hazards, for wood frame, 2 stories, slow burning, 6 stories, fire resistant, no limit. Under high occupancy hazards, for wood frame it should only be 1 story, slow burning 4 stories, fire resistant 5 stories. Existing buildings not in conformity with Table 45A as discussed shall be given 5 years to comply with the standard. The number of stories provided in Table 45A may be increased by 2 if approved automatic sprinkler protection is provided. This provision may be applicable to existing buildings if the discrepancy is only in the number of stories. Next, we have segregation. Under segregation, it is stated that segregated buildings are used if processes involve explosions and flash fire hazards and only authorized personnel allowed in. Then we have exits. At least 2 exits shall be provided in every floor and basement of every workplace capable of clearing the work area in 5 minutes. Additional exits shall be provided if the travel distance from any occupied space in high hazard occupancy exceeds 23 meters. The width of the exits shall be computed by dividing the total occupants of a floor or a story. For industrial and commercial establishment, it should be 60 inches. For service establishments, 45, and in places of assembly, 75. On every floor, except the ground floor, one of the exits shall lead to an inside stairway or a smoke-proof tower, while the other exits shall lead to inside stairways, smoke-proof towers, or horizontal exits. The construction of the exits, including stairs and means of illumination, shall be in accordance with the provisions of the Building Code of the Philippines and the Electrical Code of the Philippines. In the absence of such provisions, the Fire Code of the Philippines shall apply. Next, we have stairways. Stairs, platforms, stairways, and landings in buildings of any type of construction over 3 stories in height used as fire exits shall be constructed of incombustible materials. Building over 3 stories in height of non-fire resistant construction and with roofs having a slope of less than 1 inch and 4, at least 1 stairway shall extend through the roof. All stairways used as fire exits shall lead directly to the street or through fire-resistant passages with a width of at least equal to the aggregate width of all exits discharging through such passages. All approaches to fire exits shall be cleared of any obstruction and properly marked to make the direction of egress clear. Then we have fire doors. Stairway enclosures, fire exits, and partitions shall be provided with fire doors of the self-closing type and easily opened from either side towards the line of travel in leaving the building except the last floor, which should open away from the exit. Doors swinging on both sides, vertical sliding doors, rolling shutters, and revolving doors shall not be allowed as exits. Next, we have installation of facilities. Installation of building facilities like hot water pipes, chimneys, or heat-producing appliances shall be as provided in this. Next, we have storages. Significant quantities of commodities with fire hazards greater than ordinary combustible commodities shall be separated from the main bulk of firewalls. Commodities which may be hazardous when combined with each other shall be stored separately to prevent contact with each other. Water absorbed during firefighting operations shall be considered in the determination of safe floor load. Then we have firefighting facilities, and these include general requirements, water supply, hydrants, hose, portable extinguishers. Under general requirements, portable installations, vehicles, except those for public utility, are subject to the provisions of these standards. These are the water supply, hydrants, hose, and portable extinguishers. Water supply, where connection from a public water supply system is not available. An adequate private water supply reservoir capable of supplying all firefighting systems for 8 hours shall be provided. Hydrants. Hydrants shall be of the same types and sizes as those used by the local public fire department and located or protected that they will not be exposed to mechanical damage from vehicles. Hose. Hose couplings outside hydrants or standing nipples shall be of the same type and size as those used by the local public fire department. Hose should be thoroughly drained and dried after each use and tested at frequent intervals or at least once every 4 months and used by the local public fire department. Next, we have portable extinguishers. General requirements. All places of employment, including those where automatic sprinkler protection system is installed, shall be provided with portable fire extinguishers for protection against incipient fires. Extinguishers should be provided for fire incident and must be inspected monthly to determine physical damages and that they are in good operable condition. Type and use of the extinguishers and instructions on its proper use shall be marked in visible and easily readable letters. For the selection of fire extinguishers, we have to select or choose appropriate fire extinguishers depending on the amount of combustible or flammable materials present. This will be classified as Class A, Class B, Class C, or Class D. Extinguishers for Class A hazards such as wood, cloth, paper, rubber, and other similar ordinary materials shall be selected from foam, loaded stream, multipurpose dry chemical, and water types. Extinguishers for Class B hazards, fires in flammable liquids, gases, and greases shall be selected from the carbon dioxide, dry chemical, foam, loaded stream, and multipurpose dry chemical. Extinguishers for Class C hazards, fires which involve energized electrical equipment, where the electrical non-conductivity of the extinguishing media, if of importance, shall be selected from carbon dioxide, dry chemicals, and multipurpose dry chemicals. Extinguishers for protection of Class D hazards, fire in combustible metals such as magnesium, titanium, zirconium, rhodium, and potassium shall be of types approved for use on the specific combustible metal hazard. Only suitable dry powder extinguishers shall be used for metal fires. Here is our guide on how to use our fire extinguisher. We have the following contents: carbon dioxide, dry powder, foam, water, vaporizing liquids. So what would be the appropriate use of it? For carbon dioxide, it will only be used for flammable liquids or Class B, and also for live electrical equipment. It will not be used on wood, paper, and textiles. And also, it will not be used in a confined space. For dry powder, it is appropriate for Class A, Class B, Class C fire hazards. For Class A, you have wood, paper, and textiles. Class B, flammable liquids. Class C, gaseous fires. And also, dry powder can be used on live electrical equipment. For the foam, it will be appropriate for Class A and Class B, and it should not be used for live electrical equipment and flammable metal fires. If our fire extinguisher is water, it will only be used for Class A, which would be on wood, paper, and textiles. It will not be used on live electrical equipment, flammable liquids, nor flammable metal fires. For the vaporizing liquids, it is appropriate for Class A, B, and C as well. And it can also be used on live electrical equipment. So this is our guide for our fire extinguisher. For the distribution of fire extinguishers for light hazards Class A fires, where the amount of combustible or flammable materials present are of such quantity that fires of small size may be expected in offices, schoolrooms, churches, assembly halls, and other similar places, shall be located that a person will not travel more than 30 meters from any point to reach the nearest extinguisher. Extinguishers for ordinary hazards Class A fires, where the amount of combustible and flammable material present are such that fires of moderate size may be expected in mercantile storage and displays, auto showrooms, parking garages, light manufacturing warehouses not classified as extra hazard, school shops, and other similar places shall be provided and located that a person will not travel for more than 15 meters from any point to reach the nearest extinguishing capacity for every 125 square meters of floor area or a greater fraction thereof. Extinguishers for extra hazard Class B fires, where the amount of combustible or flammable material present is such that fires of severe magnitude may be expected in woodworking, auto repair, aircraft servicing, warehouses with high piled or 5 meters or over combustible processes, such as flammable liquid handling, painting, and other similar areas shall be provided with a 2.7 kilograms dry chemical for every 60 square meters of floor area or a greater fraction thereof. For deep layer flammable liquid Class B fires in deep or quench tanks, at least one numerical unit of extinguishing potential shall be provided for every 60 square meters of floor area or a greater fraction thereof. The travel distance to reach the nearest extinguisher shall not be more than 15 meters. Multiple smaller extinguishers shall not be used in lieu of larger units required. Extinguishers suitable for Class B fires are not acceptable in lieu of the required extinguishers for Class A fires unless it has also a Class A rating. An extinguisher carrying both Class A and B ratings may be accepted for area requirements under each individual letter classification and at the numerical rating for that class. Extinguishers with Class C rating shall be required where energized electrical equipment may be encountered. The size and location shall be on the basis of the anticipated Class or A or B hazards. Extinguishers shall have a durable tag securely attached to show the maintenance and recharge data and containing the signatures of persons performing the service. Extinguishers shall be properly marked to indicate the suitability of extinguishers for particular class of fires. Extinguishers shall be hydrostatically tested before use and periodically tested at least once in every 5 years, or as may be required by the enforcing authority when inspection indicate the need for such examination. Next, we have Rule 1945, Flammable and Combustible Liquids. The following are to be discussed: tank storage, design and fabrication, installation of outside tanks, drainage, dikes, and walls of the above ground tanks, installation of tanks inside of the buildings. Tank storage. Tanks used for flammable and combustible liquids shall be built of steel. Tanks may be built of materials other than steel for underground installation or if required by the properties of the liquid stored, shall be designed to specifications approved for the purpose. Unlined concrete tanks may be used for storing flammable or combustible liquids having a gravity of 40 degrees or heavier. For tanks located above ground or inside buildings shall be of non-combustible construction. Design and fabrication. The design and specification used in the construction and installation of tanks shall be as provided under applicable regulations of the American Petroleum Institute and the ASME Boiler and Pressure Vessels Code, which are adopted for this purpose. Plans for fabrication and fabrication processes shall be approved and supervised by the Bureau. Then we have installation of outside tanks. Every above-ground tank for storage of flammable or combustible liquids, except those liquids operating at pressures not in excess of 2.5 psig or pound per square inch gauge, and equipped with emergency venting which will not permit the pressure to exceed 2.5 psig, shall be located in accordance with Table 45B. Every above-ground tank for storage of flammable or combustible liquids, except those liquids with boil-over characteristics and unstable or combustible liquids operating at pressures exceeding 2.5 and equipped with emergency venting which will permit pressure to exceed 2.5 psig, shall be located in accordance with Table 45C. Every above-ground tank for storage of unstable liquids shall be located in accordance with Table 45D. The distance between two storage tanks shall not be less than 3 feet, except two tanks of diverse ownership, where the regional office or authorized representative may substitute the distances provided in Table 45B to E on the written request and consent of the owners. Then we have the drainage, dikes, and walls of the above-ground tanks. The area surrounding a tank or group of tanks shall be provided with drainage to prevent accidental discharge of liquid to adjoining property or reaching waterways. Then we have installation of tanks inside the buildings. Tanks should not be installed inside buildings except service or supply tanks. Then we have underground tanks shall be set on firm foundations and surrounded with at least 6 inches of non-corrosive inert material well tamped in place. Tanks shall be covered with a minimum of 2 feet of earth or 4 inches reinforced concrete slab on top of 1 foot of earth. Then we have service stations. In gas station, tanks shall be buried as provided in installation of underground tanks, but with at least 6 inches thick reinforced concrete slab over 1 foot of earth, and there shall be no smoking or open flames in the area, and the motors of all equipment being fuel shall be shut off. Processing of bulk plants. All buildings, installations, and operations in processing and bulk plants shall be as provided in Rule 1160 and the Philippine Electric Code. The installations. All other tanks installed not in conformity with this rule shall reduce their contents to comply with the distance requirements. Those to be installed shall be with prior approval of the department. Then we have combustible solids. Combustible solids are the following that should be stored and handled with great care. These are nitrate motion picture films, zirconium, magnesium, titanium, and oxalate plastics. Electrical installation. All electrical installations shall be in accordance with the provisions of Rule 1210 as discussed by one of our classmates. Emergency lighting system shall be provided to automatically light emergency exits in case of failure of the main electrical power line. Sounding devices. All buildings having 2 or more stories in height shall be equipped with fire alarm system. Firefighting drills. Fire drills must be conducted in every place of employment with assistance from the public fire department. The members of the fire brigade shall be physically qualified for the job and properly trained on firefighting, use of hose, line, and ventilation of buildings, salvage operations, rescue operations, first aid. Fire exit drills shall be conducted at least twice a year to maintain an orderly evacuation, unless the fire department requires a higher frequency of fire drills. That ends my discussion on Rule 1940, Fire Protection and Control. So I'm now going to discuss Fire Safety Plan. What is a Fire Safety Plan? A Fire Safety Plan is a detailed document that covers all aspects of fire safety for a specific building or property. The plan will outline a safe and orderly way for occupants to evacuate the building, proper maintenance and housekeeping required to prevent fires as discussed by one of our classmates, methods of control that minimize the damage from fires when they do occur. So what should be included in a fire safety plan? So we have actually 10 things to be included, but these are not inclusive. So there are other things to be included in a fire safety plan depending on the need of the company. First, emergency procedures to be used in case of fire, including how to sound the alarm, notify the fire department, building or business officials, or other designated staff as specified in the plan. Evacuate occupants, evacuate persons who may need assistance, and confine, control, and extinguish fire where possible. Then, fire drills to be conducted, how often it will be conducted, and how it will be conducted should also be included in our fire safety plan. Then, information for any designated staff who have been given fire safety duties and responsibilities. Number 4, organization, education, and training for staff with fire safety duties. Number 5, information and actions to take to prevent or control fire hazards for that building or business where appropriate. Number 6, other staff education and training that may be necessary. Number 7, detailed maintenance procedures for fire protection systems. Number 8, diagrams and instructions about the type, location, and operation of any fire or emergency systems. 9, identification of alternative fire safety measures. And number 10, allow fire department access to the building and to the fire location within the building. What could be included in typical fire safety plan for employees? Fire safety plan should provide employees or building occupants with instructions they need to leave the building in the event of a fire. Here are some typical fire safety plan that may be included for employees. If you discover a fire, what should you do? Of course, first, you have to leave the fire area immediately. Activate the fire alarm and or alert other staff. If safe to do so, assist anyone in immediate danger. Close all doors behind you to confine the fire. Use exit stairwells to leave the building. If you hear a fire alarm, what should you do? Shut down process equipment or computers, laptop, or other devices. Leave the building immediately. Close all doors behind you to confine the fire. Use exit stairwells to leave the building. If designated with fire emergency duties, carry out pre-planned procedures if safe to do so. In the event of a fire, you have to make sure you remember this. First, you are not supposed to use the elevator or elevators. Do not re-enter the building until the fire marshal or respective supervisory staff announces that it is safe to do so. What are some examples of fire protection measures? So we will be discussing some examples of fire protection measures. First, we have the fire safety plan and fire protection systems. This should include procedures for evacuation and response, building plans marked for fire exits, fire extinguishers, alarm points, smoke detectors, first aid boxes, main electrical panel, main water supply, evacuation routes, and others. Then the methods required to prevent the fires. Communication of fire safety plan and emergency response procedures to all employees and contractors should also be included. The conduct of fire drills at least twice a year or as required by local jurisdiction is also a must. Observe the response to fire drills and adjust the plan as necessary to ensure its effectiveness. All emergency numbers and instructions should be posted close to telephones. And also, we have to post the location, address of the building with any specific instruction that may be needed by the responders. Provide education and training to all designated employees on the type and correct use of fire extinguishers. Fire wardens must be educated and trained in how to clear an area quickly and other related duties. So we have to inspect also the fire extinguishers, the fire alarm system, the emergency lighting system, the sprinkler system, and other fire protection on a monthly basis or as per required by the fire code or other applicable legislation. Okay, next, what are the fire protection measures for fire doors, exits, or lightings? Okay, all aisles, emergency exits, fire extinguishers must be kept clear of product or storage objects for trucks, others at all times. Exit routes from buildings must be clear of all obstructions. Each building must have at least 2 means of escape separate from each other. Fire doors must not be left open unless equipped with self-closing mechanisms. Fire doors must be kept free of obstructions that would prevent the door from closing. Exit doors must open in an emergency, so it should not be permanently locked or chained closed. Exit doors must be properly marked with signs indicating they are exits from the building. Install and maintain adequate emergency lighting to cover staircases, washrooms, meeting rooms, parking lots, exits, and others. For fire extinguishers, these are some of the fire protection measures. Mark all fire extinguishers clearly with the class of fire for which it is appropriate, as we have discussed earlier. Install fire extinguishers as per the fire code. It must be kept free of obstructions for easy access, and inspect portable fire extinguishers monthly or as required by your local jurisdiction. For fire alarms and smoke alarms, these are the fire protection measures. Provide and maintain adequate fire alarms and smoke alarms according to the fire code. Test periodically if possible monthly or as according to your jurisdiction. If smoke alarm is battery operated, do not remove batteries unless they are replaced immediately with fresh batteries. That concludes my discussion on fire safety plan. So thank you so much for listening. This is Timolon Lianza signing off. God bless everyone and be safe.